Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry I'm not quite as tall as you are here. Good morning, everyone. It's Jay. I also have a few recognitions to make this morning as we began, and if they are here, would you please stand. I'd like to recognize Chris Benge, Secretary of Native American Affairs for the state of Oklahoma, and also Chief of Staff for Governor Mary Fallin. With him this morning also is Brian Hendricks, Deputy Assistant for the Native American Affairs. The Honorable Stephen Baldridge, Mayor of Okmulgee. Great for being here. State Representative for District 16, Mr. Scott Fettgatter. I believe we have William Barnes from Representative Mark Wayne Mullen's office here. Good to see you again. And from the Alabama Quarsarty, we have Tilda Harjo, who's in attendance. That's what's on my list, and I apologize if there's anybody that I've overlooked. I do also want to take time at this moment to ask that if they could, our MCOs and ceremonial leaders, our MCOs as well as the pastors of our churches, if they'd please stand. As your principal chief, I come before you to deliver the annual State of the Nation address of our Mvskoke Creek Nation, and can report that the state of the nation is strong, much more improved than 1 year ago, and that it will continue to even get stronger. I am pleased today to report on achievements that we have made this past year and efforts that we are making become even stronger. 1 year ago, the second chief, Lewis Hicks, and I began our administration promising to lead our nation to become better in providing services and working together to elevate the Mvskoke Creek Nation. We pledged to return to our basic core values, that our tribal government is here to serve our Mvskoke Creek citizens. We believe that if we embraced our traditions, our ceremonies, and our religions and our communities, and kept them close to us as we move forward, we would reflect a culture of service in line with the needs of our citizens. We have seen that we have, in fact, become better and plan to continue to improve. I am thankful to all our Mvskoke citizens, those in attendance today, those residing outside our boundaries and in other states, and who may be watching online today. I want to recognize you. I'm grateful to Speaker Lucian Tiger, Second Speaker David Hill, and members of the National Council who work closely with our administration to address issues facing our nation, as well as their dedication in doing the best for our citizens. Together, we have worked hard to make many positive improvements in 2016. I'd like to ask our royalty to stand at this time as well, because I want to recognize first, I'd like to recognize Brittany McCain, Miss Mvskoke Nation, and Madeline Lamb, Junior Miss Mvskoke Nation. I want to thank them for respectfully representing our nation at many events over the past 7 months now, and for their hard work in representing, I think, the strength of some of the youth of our nation and future leaders. I would also ask for members of our youth council and their leaders to stand as well. If you're already standing, please raise your hand. This past summer, members of our youth council, this past summer, the United National Indian Tribal Youth Incorporated, or UNITY, an organization dedicated to augmenting social and mental development to contribute to a stronger Indian country, named the Mvskoke Creek Nation Youth Council as Youth Council of the Year at its 40th anniversary. I'm very emotional about this, but I just want to express that we're very proud of you. Your leadership and your service in the communities, your service today as ushers. So I hope that we continue to thank you and recognize you for your hard work, and to be named the National Youth Council in your first year of existence is quite an achievement. But I'm also grateful for the strength and influence of our elders, for sustaining the spirit of our nation and keeping our traditions alive. May this coming year provide time to continue to provide you with good health as we move forward. The second chief and I hold our strongest respect for our citizens, our men and women who have worn the uniform of our armed services and sacrificed their lives to serve our country in defending our freedom, and those presently serving throughout the world. Just a few months ago, we were honored to have our tribal citizen, Corporal Philip Kuhn, World War II Bataan Death March survivor and prisoner of war, posthumously honored with induction into the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame. His strength of survival, as well as his service in our churches and our communities, will always be remembered by those whose lives he touched. And one of those was mine. But, we continue to mourn the loss of our Mvskoke citizens who passed from our presence this past year, and pray for their families that they will be comforted in their losses. May we always remember the contributions that they have made to our nation, and may their legacies serve as a continuing strength to each one of us, and that we may build upon those legacies in what we do. We must also keep in mind our great history of resilience to have guide us. Since the earliest conflicts with Europeans, our citizens had held different views and chosen different sides, but we continued to be one tribe. A mere 150 years ago, after the Civil War, we lost half of our land and were divided about how to rebuild our nation. Though there were many disagreements, we were able to come together to write a constitution that guided us for many years. At this time, we must come together again, united in strength, to confront the issues that threaten our nation. When I took office, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect our sovereignty. I made a promise to you, which to the best of my abilities, I work daily to uphold. Here in our nation, working with other tribes, the state, and with the federal government. Maintaining our sovereignty and our resources will require more effort and presence in Washington, D.C. this coming year. So I'm grateful for the teamwork that I have with the second chief, members of our staff, because we will rely upon them even more this year in daunting tasks that face us. To our citizens, I ask that you please stay informed about the issues that will confront us, and let your state and federal representatives know that you expect them to honor their promises to us. As the leader of the executive branch, my commitment is to provide you an organization of structure, resources, and equipment needed to deliver the best services to our citizens, the services that they deserve. A primary focus, my first year, has been to implement a government-wide infrastructure of equipment and systems that are standardized and effective, while revising and improving policies and procedures that ensure our staff are compliant and accountable with all federal requirements in meeting your needs. At this time, I'd like to ask all our employees of the nation to please stand. The second chief and I want you to know that in whatever your role is in our organization, we value your service and sacrifice to our citizens. Our responsibility is to support you in your jobs. Because of you, we have achieved great accomplishments and are positioned for many more. Thank you. I could describe a great many improvements and accomplishments in all departments, and we'd probably be here a very long time, but today I will highlight just a few that I feel are very significant and will become even more significant in our future. In regards to our culture, I believe the strength of our nation is ensuring the active practice of our culture. During 2016, the second chief and I met with traditional ceremonial ground leaders and church leaders of many faiths to understand their needs and to hear their perspectives for the future of our nation. We are grateful for their leadership in maintaining the spirituality of our citizens and dedication that they have to sustaining faith in our traditional practices at our grounds and our churches. We will continue to seek their input as we make decisions related to their concerns, and we'll do all we can to help them stay strong. In our finance, beginning in 2016, we immediately faced many challenges. I am happy to report that we were able to end the year with our budgets balanced and started fiscal year 17 with a budget approved by the National Council. I'm also pleased to report that the permanent fund of the nation grew to more than $319 million, an increase of almost $22 million over this time last year. The Office of the Treasury successfully merged the Department of Health Finance into its office, and now all accounting functions are handled in one location, saving duplication of positions and providing more efficiency of financial management. Through the leadership of our controller, both tribal and health fiscal year 16 books were closed. They were closed much earlier than in the past 4 years, and we have already started our annual compliance comprehensive audit. In information management, I am proud to report that this administration has made the security of our citizens' personal information a high priority. We have focused on ensuring our data systems are secure and updated with the latest technology available. We have controlled access to all of our computer systems. We have completed total encryption of our computer system and established firewalls to protect against outside intrusions. Through our information technology investments, we have now increased our cumulative bandwidth by 1,100%. With these improvements, citizens will see shorter times to fill prescription, improved phone system capability, faster medical and record entry and retrieval, all with complete system backup daily. We have switched from legacy circuits to Ethernet and will save $180,000 this year on those investments. We have also renegotiated our telephone long distance contract, which will save the nation an additional $700,000 a year. In our interior affairs, I'd like to start by saying that the restoration of our council house is underway, and when completed next year, will again serve as the centerpiece of our nation as it was in 1878. We have succeeded in obtaining congressional approval and presidential signature for transferring 18 acres of federal property into trust for our nation to add to our Fountainhead property. A second parcel of 48 acres of the Fountainhead property on Lake Eufaula is in the final step in being placed into trust by the Department of the Interior. When completed within the next few months, we will begin work with the National Council to plan for Fountainhead's economic development and bring much-needed jobs to McIntosh County, which is currently experiencing the highest unemployment rate in the state of Oklahoma. In 2016, we requested that the BIA Realty Office return to Okmulgee, and this renewed relationship has led to 7 properties totaling 132 acres being placed into trust status for our nation. So I'd like to commend our realty staff for their efforts on our behalf. And if you're here today, my big thanks to you. Job well done. Next month, we will propose to the National Council a bill to authorize a master planning process to determine the best use of all our existing properties in the Okmulgee area. The plan will guide our decisions in the future for new business opportunities, cultural programs, and employment growth for all of our citizens. Our business development has also flourished in 2016. The nation expanded business enterprises by opening the Flying T virtual golf course, increased the leasing space with long-term agreements at Riverwalk to 98% occupancy. We celebrated the openings of River Spirit's Margaritaville Casino and Restaurant, our 483-room luxury hotel, and Paradise Cove Theater. By the end of this month, all businesses within River Spirit in Tulsa, including Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and a full-service spa, will be in full operation. We also started the Staffing Solutions Company and opened the one-stop fuel station near Glenpool. These enterprises have added more than 1,000 new job opportunities for our citizens, while contributing a projected $135 million annually into local city economies. We reorganized and consolidated the agricultural and natural resources programs of the nation to allow for direct administration and oversight. In our farm and ranch operations, we are transitioning to the development of a Red Angus herd of cattle because of its vigor and value-added production. Recently, we acquired 400 acres of agricultural land near at the Hannah farm property for additional hay harvest and cattle operations. The state of our business development is strong, and we are seeing significant opportunities throughout the nation. In 2017, we will continue to upgrade our gaming properties, initiate the design of the Fountainhead Destination Resort, and announce other significant business plans as they become more finalized. In our education programs, let me begin by talking about our Head Start children. We have been able to upgrade 3 center playgrounds to improve their safety. The Head Start program received 100% compliance for environmental health and safety by the Administration for Children and Families. For our youngest students, we were able to replace 6 out of our 12 preschool buses with 29 passenger buses that include seat belts and the latest safety features available to protect them. We will work throughout this year to seek additional monies to replace the remainder of our fleet. Under new leadership, the Eufaula dormitory was revitalized, and recruitment resulted in enrollment more than doubling from the past school year. It continues to attract new applicants. The dormitory was recognized by the Bureau of Indian Education for its commitment in providing the best residential services and academic support for the students we serve. The higher education program provided scholarships to 1,500 students for the spring 2016 semester and 1,626 students for the fall semester. I'm also proud to report that the College of the Mvskoke Nation received accreditation by the Higher Learning Commission in October. Our nation now has the first accredited tribal college in Oklahoma. Accreditation enhances transfer of all of our course credits to other colleges and universities and allows us to administer financial aid to our enrolled students. By far, The toughest challenge this past year has been in the healthcare department. At the outset of our administration, we faced many complex issues that required immediate action to address budget shortfalls while meeting patient needs. With the support and the action of the National Council, we were provided authority to restructure our financing to reduce expenses, realign program management, and reorganize staffing levels to match patient care needs. Unfortunately, this resulted in some reduction in staff. However, we have been able to accomplish our goals with dedicated healthcare professionals on the front lines and with the willingness of management to assume extra duties during this time. By year's end, we had reorganized to a more efficient manner and rehired many of our staff we'd laid off. As we enter 2017, we are back on track to become the healthcare system which our citizens can be proud, that provides timely and quality care to our citizens. I'd like to provide some examples of the progress. Total revenue collected from healthcare billings for the calendar year 2016 was $50,101,181, an increase of $9,233,777 over the previous calendar year. Outpatient clinic appointments increased at all sites for each quarter of the past year. The Yakima Hospital will be completed and opened this year. We restructured the construction financing to avoid high loan fees, rid us of the balloon payment, and reduced the overall construction costs. But we will still have a great hospital when it's open. The Eufaula Clinic, the joint venture project with the Indian Health Service, is under construction and will be completed in 2018. Over the next 20 years, the Indian Health Service will contribute at least $240 million for operational costs and 133 staff to better serve our citizens. I believe this is a great return for our $26 million construction investment. As we entered office last year, we began amidst many citizens' concerns of staff excessive spending, reporting to work late, and using tribal vehicles for personal gain. I want to assure you that we have addressed these issues. We have implemented a tribal-wide system in which all employees must scan in and out each day to record their time at work. We ended the practice of employees taking cars home and treating them as a personal vehicle. We established a central motor pool so staff can request vehicles for business use as necessary. With the approval and support of the National Council, we established a policy where all vehicles purchased by the nation are through the state fleet vehicle pricing program. These changes have allowed the nation to save thousands of dollars in vehicle purchases and management while being accountable. During the past year, we strengthened operational policies and improved workflow processes to better serve our citizens. We publicly reported more measurable program information in our quarterly reports than ever before. Through the tribe's even though the tribe's independent agencies are not under my authority, I have asked them to participate in the quarterly reports. We have made these reports available in print and also via online media, including our new updated tribal website, for everyone to see. Again, we will be compliant and accountable in all we do. My administration's priority is creating a culture of compliance for the executive branch of the nation and beyond. This year, we will establish a compliance working group made up of employees that will meet regularly to discuss compliance issues and questions and assist with the implementation of procedures aimed at preventing fraud, waste, and abuse. In establishing the working group, one of the primary goals is to encourage employees at all levels to play a meaningful role in the compliance process. In addition, we are developing an ethics program where every employee will receive annual training on acceptable conduct in the workplace. Already this month, more than 500 of our nation's employees have received ethics training. I was impressed at their enthusiasm and their willingness to become engaged in elevating our standards. We are in the process of updating the nation's code of ethics for all staff and will require annual certification of updated training. Finally, we will establish a process that would enable employees to anonymously report suspected unlawful or unethical conduct. We want an open workplace where employees are unafraid to raise concerns that they may have, as well as report suspected wrongdoing. We support our staff and want them to do the right thing every day. Speaking for the second chief and myself, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as leaders of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. The first year of our administration has been challenging but rewarding. Long hours but positive outcomes. We are thankful for the enthusiasm of our staff and how they have demonstrated hard work in meeting the needs of our citizens. We will continue to give our best in all matters at all times. As I have said before, my hope is, united by a common bond, that we will strengthen each other by always remembering our past is the greatest teacher for our future. May each of you be blessed in your efforts to fulfill your duties to sustain our traditional values by always remembering the sacrifices of our ancestors and using that knowledge to ensure we have a brighter future for those in whose footsteps we follow. May God bless all of you. Mado.
There you have it, the conclusion of the State of the Nation address from Principal Chief James Floyd, and a short address this year, very concise to the point, just around 30 minutes. We've seen some longer, we've seen some maybe a little bit shorter, but lots covered there, lots for us to talk about. I want to thank you all for staying with us here on MvskokeMedia.com. Welcome you back in to the post show. Jessica McBride here along with myself, Jason Salzman. And Jessica, let's just get into the speech right away. As we speculated, there would probably be some pleasantries and introductions to start off, and true to form that there was. Lots of dignitaries in the House. Secretary of Native American Affairs, Chris Binge, as we said, Mr. Baldridge, Stephen Baldridge, Mayor of Okmulgee, a representative from Mark Wayne Mullins' office was there as well. So a lot of people in attendance today to see the speech. What do you think of really the beginning parts of it?
I think he, like you said, he introduced a lot of people. He thanked a lot of people that have helped his administration with different aspects of whether it's a project or a program or anything like that. So he introduced a lot of people that are in the office, thanked the National Council, Speaker Lucian Tiger, and then went on from his speech from there, really.
Yeah, and one of the things that he mentioned, I think, set the tone for the rest of the speech was that realizing that there are a lot of differences in our people. Some of our people are actually on different sides of the aisle on a lot of things, even politically, religiously, all kinds of things like that. So one of the things that he brought up there was this cohesive one tribe unit to where we all come together. He mentioned back to the Civil War, how even different sides, things like that. So you have to come together and be cohesive, united in strength, basically was his message there at the beginning. Then getting right into, as we said, the middle of the speech was going to be about some actual issues, things that he wanted to address. He got right off the bat with culture. It was what he started with. What I found interesting about his culture comments was the fact that it was more or less just a tip of the cap that we have our ceremonial grounds, we have our churches. There was really no mention of the issue that we've seen come up lately, or an addressing of it, which was with the ceremonial grounds having the stomp dances on tribal property, such as
it wasn't just the ceremonial grounds either. And just to kind of clarify, if you haven't seen our coverage on this issue, what came down was a policy more or less that until a true policy is formed with ceremonial ground leaders,
Right.
that no one, not a ceremonial ground or a youth group or anything like that, can hold a stop dance on tribal property.
Right.
Now, that's what we've been told. We don't know if this is like just concerning the dome or the college or indoor
Right.
places like that. We don't know what this means for the stomp dance at the festival either.
Right. Well, it's a big part of the festival, kicks it off, so that's why we had our concerns, and I didn't mean any one specific ceremonial ground, just as you said, leaders meeting with the chief, and as far as we know, and as far as we've gotten our coverage, they're still trying to work out a policy because there is no policy in place. But as you said, until there is a policy in place, there won't be any on tribal property. So that wasn't talked about, but that's something that maybe he didn't want to get into in a State of the Nation
But he does
address,
say in
so.
his speech, too, that him and the second chief have met with
They're
traditional
working.
leaders
Yeah.
and pastors, and they're working to preserve the culture and traditions of the nation.
Yeah, and the Mikos and the pastors were recognized by him and asked to stand for recognition there in the speech as well. So moving right on, they got to finance next. Beginning in 2016, he basically addressed the fact that they had to look at a lot of financial hardships and things that needed to be fixed at the nation, a lot of shortcomings. But looking at the budgets, he says that we've balanced the budget and given a balanced budget to the council to start fiscal year 2017. Also, that permanent fund we talked about, he says now up to $319 million, which is an increase of $22 million. That's, as we said, the permanent fund is something that needs to be there, that needs to grow, and obviously from these numbers, it has.
And there's more specific numbers that are in the quarterly report that should be available on the Mvskoke Creek Nation website that goes into the actual finances of the nation, like I said before. He does talk about finance in general. Of course, finance has been a big word, in this past year, seeing as the health deficit and things like that. The finance for the Department of Health combined with finance for the Mvskoke Creek Nation as a
Yes.
whole. And so they've worked together to integrate those two into one unit.
Yeah, and I think that's important, a streamlining of that process. I think that that's a good thing for his administration to be able to hang their hat on, the fact that they don't have so many people in so many different spaces conducting financial comprehension and trying to report to somebody else. Another thing, Jessica, I think we really need to point out that he pointed out was through the controller, this new system, they've been able to close up their books a lot sooner than they have in the past years, and they already have auditors that normally are not working till April, I think. They already have auditors working on closing up all of those numbers.
Right. We didn't actually report on the fiscal year 2015 audit until really the summer and towards the end of fiscal year 2016. And so he says that the auditors have been coming by to the office to complete the audit, and I figure we can expect the audit to be made public possibly by April.
Yeah, and we'll have that for you on Mvskoke Media, of course, as soon as we get the information to us. He moved right along to information management. I think a lot of the people nationally worry about hacking, intrusion into our systems, things like that. The principal chief indicated that we have established a total encryption of our computer system to establish firewalls to protect against intrusion. Also, some information on some money we've saved by making some decisions regarding our Ethernet and our telephone long-distance lines.
And going back to kind of the protection and stuff, I mean, everybody knows that hacking is real. That's
Yeah.
a real threat now. But what citizens may not understand is information kept by the nation. If you seek out social services or health services or anything like that, your personal and private information could be located in the computer system. So it's very important that we go to protect that information.
Yeah, I think citizens need to know that. The interior of Ferris next. The restoration of the council house. It's a big project. If you've been downtown Altmulgee, you've seen the fence around the property, which is letting everybody know that it is off limits right now. They are doing work restoring that great facility, that historical facility, and obtaining congressional approval for transferring 18 acres into trust in the nation. We talked about that and covered it in the paper, but we talked about it on the pre-show too. We wondered if he would talk about Fountainhead, and he certainly did in this address. I mean, he not only said this is what we've done with the transfer of the acreage, this is what our plans are. He even said that we are going to start the design phase this year. He said that in this speech. So Fountainhead is happening, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a matter of time. And for everybody out there that I said stops me and asks me, what are they going to do with that Fountainhead property? This may give you an answer right there.
We might have an answer this year on what their plans are, and he actually calls it a resort in his speech.
I heard that too. Yeah.
He also clarified some questions that we've had as far as, is Fountainhead in trust? Now, a press release went out towards the end of last year, and the press release said that 18 acres had been placed into trust. Now, this isn't the full Fountainhead property, but he also says in his speech that the second parcel of 48 acres of the Fountainhead property will be placed into trust, and I believe he says sometime this year.
Yes. And another thing in here, a proposal to the National Council to a bill to authorize a master planning process to determine the best use of all of our properties in the Altmulgee area. This would certainly include the country club, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will include the country club. Those of you who don't know much about the Altmulgee Country Club, it also includes several acres that was utilized as a golf course. I believe that golf course was shut down a year or two ago, prior to Chief Floyd taking over. And so I don't know if that'll mean it'll open back up. They're going to analyze the best use for properties like this and some other properties it sounds like that the nation owns to see what the best use is for citizens.
Business development, one of the things that we want to point out real quick is that in the speech, it seemed that through wording or whatever, the chief had said, we opened up the Flying T. For a lot of people out there that do not know the business partnership, the whole partnership, in general with Flying T, we're basically just a landlord that they are a tenant of the Riverwalk.
Right.
We didn't open Flying T. That it is an independent business that we hold a minority stake in. So they certainly are completely on their own, an entire ownership group. They open the Flying T. We just get I believe around $200,000 a year rent from that business. Also, as you said, a minority stake in the company through One Fire Holdings, and that's that. We don't want anybody to be.
We do have a seat on their board, so I think we're knowledgeable on business decisions and how much money they're actually making, which in turn does affect our minority ownership.
Right.
But this isn't a direct profit business. We're not seeing millions of dollars coming into the nation from this business specifically.
And I think you've seen recent meetings where things have been, suggested, why isn't there a seal at Flying T or anything like that? Well, there doesn't have to be. They're their own business. We are just invested in them, really.
But I think one of the questions that citizens have on why isn't there a seal on Flying T is because we did contribute $11 million to build the facility.
Sure.
So while we don't own Flying T ourselves, we do own the property and did contribute to building it. And Flying T matched that, and I think they put up a couple million more in order to build the facility at Riverwalk.
Right, yeah. That just kind of clears up a lot of that on there. Riverwalk, actually 98% occupancy. That was a concern before, that we weren't, trying to get businesses in there. I think when we first announced this partnership and bringing in Flying T, the main objective was to have an anchor tenant. I think you can see that having an anchor tenant has helped that facility. The folks that are in charge of running that facility would tell you the same thing. We're seeing now more businesses come in there. Andolini's Pizzeria, very popular in Tulsa, coming to Riverwalk. It's really sort of making a comeback, that Riverwalk area. So it's good to see there. And also the new luxury resort, 483 room a hotel there at River Spirit. Gosh, it seems like that's all we've done the last few weeks is go up there. But
Well, between the conference center
Yeah.
and the hotel, Roost Chris Restaurant, Paradise Cove Theater, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to this $365 million project that the nation put forth in order to expand and make it a resort and bring in people from around the region.
and we'll keep an eye on the impact, and we'll ask those questions. You know, the actual real impact this is going to have on the nation as it becomes a fully operational resort spot.
He also talks about in business development that between, One Fire Holding Company and the resort opening and I believe the Staffing Solutions Company, which we mentioned, it goes to MNBE. That's part of MNBE's economic development. But they estimated that this has created 1,000 new job opportunities and over 135 million annually into local city economies. Now, we don't have the numbers exactly on how much of that, and I wouldn't say 135 million, but how much revenue is coming back to the nation. But I can tell you that Jason and I do have interviews scheduled with Mvskoke Nation Business Enterprise, with One Fire Holding Company, the Tax Commission, as well as Mvskoke International. And we're working to get those numbers for you on how these business endeavors are affecting the nation and how much money we're actually seeing from them.
Absolutely. And we have other irons in the fire as far as business development. Our farm and ranching operation down in the Hannah area. We got, recently getting 400 acres of additional farm and ranch land down in Hannah, which, as a lot of people know, some of the best farm and ranch land in this state. And we have seen the ranch and the farms do wonderful things down there, but also what they're doing now is transitioning to a red Angus herd of cattle for its vigor and added value production. So, we'll see there with the cows and how the cattle operation is going to go. I'd be interested to, as I was reading that, I thought to myself, as I so often do, I was like, I want to contact somebody and do an interview about this. Maybe a rancher or a cattleman that could talk about the added value production of red Angus herd.
And that's probably something that we'll look at doing as Mvskoke Media. I'm sure a lot of citizens don't know that we have, a hay business, or we have a herd of cattle. And so we'd like to bring that information to citizens.
And Chief, certainly to close out the business, touching on the Fountainhead ramping up and the design phase and everything like that. So exciting times there and things that we'll keep an eye on. Education, they've been able to upgrade the Head Start facilities with playgrounds and get into 100% compliance environmentally within the safety administration there. They replaced 6 of our 12 preschool buses with new buses that include seat belts and the latest safety features.
And that's
great.
important because we've actually seen a lot of that
Bus
in national
wrecks,
news and bus wrecks, and the bus didn't have seat belts. So we have purchased buses with seat belts for our Head Start students, and it sounds like that we'll be purchasing more once that money is made available.
Yeah, and the Eufaula dorm. In the last couple of years, we've seen some dire things coming out of there as far as like nobody's going. I don't know if we'll keep it open. They've seen attendance double, and more than more than that, they're continuing to attract people that want to come. And the BIA has recognized them for the commitment in providing the best residential services and academic support. So that was a great thing there to throw out. Also, the higher education program, scholarships for 1,500 students for this spring semester in 2016, and 1,626 students for the fall semester. So that's great. And big news out of the College of Mvskoke Nation.
College of the Mvskoke Nation is an accredited college, and they're saying it's the first tribal college that's accredited in the state of Oklahoma. Wow. Now, you might say, what does accreditation do? This allows your credits that you take at that college to transfer out. So this is big news for the College of the Mvskoke Nation.
Yeah, it's a very big step, and we had covered that. Now, so I'm going, if you want to go back in our YouTube archives and see some of that, it's certainly available there on MvskokeMedia.com. Going into healthcare. Okay, so this was the big one. We wanted to hear about what he would have to say about healthcare. And what did he say? His very first comments about healthcare was, our toughest challenge this past year was in our healthcare department. That's absolute truth. I mean, I think that he is recognizing the seriousness of what had to happen. according to his administration, there with what happened. He says, at the outset, our administration faced many complex issues that required immediate action to address budget shortfalls while meeting patients' needs. I think that this administration felt that was absolutely, they were backed into a corner and had one simple solution.
Well, and he kind of says that, and he says, unfortunately, because they had to reorganize and redo the budget and things like that, they did have to dismiss some of the staff. But he also says, and to quote him, by year's end, we had reorganized in a more efficient manner and rehired many of our staff. So I'd like to touch base and see how many of those few hundred employees that were let go have been hired back.
And I think, too, that he was careful to keep everybody aware of the fact that it was patient needs, patient needs. That was always in the back of, that was always there. And so we always had to figure out a way that nothing could supersede patient needs of our healthcare. So,
He
bad
also,
things happen,
it's
but
not all doom and gloom at the health department.
No.
And we've covered a lot of problems of the health department throughout 2016. But he also says in 2016 that the total revenue collected was over $50 million, and that's an increase of over $9.2 million from the previous calendar year.
Yeah.
One of the things we did touch on was third-party revenues.
The collections were a big thing.
And so if we can bring in more revenue, then that also offsets the deficit. We're able to pay off that loan faster, pay off the facilities that we're building in Okemah and Eufaula, and possibly expand programs.
And outpatient clinic appointments increased each quarter at all the facilities. The Okemah Hospital will be completed and opened this year, he says. And we restructured the construction financing to avoid high loan fees, rid us of the balloon payment, which we talked about a lot. That was a big sticking point there with our coverage, and reduce the overall construction costs. So those were things that he had. He reiterates here because we have covered them with him before, and these were all things that he has mentioned to us before.
He
in our
also
coverage
says
of
that
health.
Eufaula Clinic will be open in 2018.
Right.
If you'll remember, we had a groundbreaking a couple of years ago, and we never saw, any actual construction going on. Now, in fiscal year 2016, they did hold another groundbreaking, and I believe construction has started at that site.
Yep. Next thing, and really this to me was probably, I think at the end of the day, this to me was probably the most interesting part of the speech, of the address, because it kind of said, okay, people, I'm listening and I'm paying attention to what you're saying about our employees and the way we conduct business here at the complex and at the tribe, starting off with the badging in and everything like that, accountable work hours for the people, also setting up the motor pool system to where people aren't treating tribal vehicles like they're their own. I know that was a big complaint from some of the citizens. This executive administration, if they haven't done anything, they've addressed some citizens' concerns when it has to do with the tribe and the complex and the employees, because also, Jessica, he got into some of the ethics training and some of the things that we're doing on how business is just conducted on a day-to-day basis.
And there was actually an ethics training held, I believe it was a week or two ago, and all employees are now required to take it. We're required to take it. The ethics training was with, I believe, an FBI agent or former FBI agent on what ethics is and what we're responsible for as far as employees go. Now, he did go on to say that they were making a compliance group and ethics top priority. And so I'll be curious to see if there will be policies put in place. We have seen some policies come down as far as like the fleet vehicles and things like that come into play. But I'll be curious to see what compliance and ethics policies are published so that we can let our citizens know that our employees are responsible.
With the vehicles, too, let's point out that there was a fleet before Chief Floyd, but Chief Floyd implemented a program to where certain tribal vehicles were taking away from certain departments to a one fleet management group that then you check out the vehicles
Right.
as needed. So
And-
they weren't
and this
just
is
belong
used
to
to
those
save
departments.
money for the tribe
Right.
as well. And so they've also cut down. Employees aren't supposed to be driving tribal vehicles to and from work, like driving them home.
Right.
Now, tribal vehicles aren't just driven between the hours of 8 and 5. There will be employees such as the Family Violence Prevention Program and other children and family services employees, possibly even health employees, that will utilize tribal vehicles after work hours, after on Saturdays and stuff, because they do have to
Right.
fill the needs of their clients during those times.
Yeah, and just, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I don't want anybody out there to see a tribal vehicle, a tribal government tag on a Saturday and just flip out, like, oh, there's somebody, there are some of us that do have to work the weekends, everything like that, and
Like we're doing right
like
now.
we're doing right now. It's Saturday morning, and I got up and was ready to go and was chipper about being at work. Well, to close out the speech, he talked about another thing, I think this was really neat, a compliance working group that they're establishing, he said, full of employees that will be meeting to discuss compliance issues. If we're not policing ourselves, it's really hard on a day-to-day basis to make sure that we're staying airtight with everything we need to do, because as a government agency that is also tied to another government agency, compliance is everything.
Especially since we get federal grants, we
Absolutely.
get state grants. There's a
Absolutely.
lot of things that we have to be accountable for as employees.
Yep.
And he also mentioned that there's going to be an anonymous hotline available to employees to report
Right.
fraud and other unethical behavior, and so they don't have to fear reprisal.
Yes.
For reporting those things.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of how important compliance is and to not be out of it, Jared, what did we always talk about when the whole issue was going on with the casinos and certain communities? We have one gaming license, one, nationally. If we lose it, it's gone, and then we don't even want to talk about what happens then. So compliance is important, and if we can all do our part to make sure that it's something that we put at the forefront and we prioritize, I think that's a good thing, and I think that's a great way for him to close his speech out.
Yeah, and some people don't understand, policy procedure, and they want to bend the rules just a little bit. But what we risk when we bend the rules as far as policy and procedure goes is we could ruin it for everyone.
Yes.
One lawsuit, I know tribal sovereignty comes into play there, but one minor infraction could cost us the loss of federal grants and the loss of our casino license, like you said, and that could be very detrimental to tribal programs.
Yeah, and just to close out our coverage of the address, I thought it was interesting. Chief Floyd's usually pretty reserved, straightforward chief, but he did become emotional talking about the youth council. I just wonder if he's just being a little reflective there. Some of the people we've lost youth this year, and certainly youth that were not only just youth, they took part in our tribe, they took part in our council, our youth council, things like that. So it was to see him emotional about those things, you wonder if he's reflecting on that. Also, the chief just lost his brother a couple weeks ago. It's an emotional time for him as well. So I thought it was a good address. I thought it was pretty concise, quick to the point. I think that he understands that he has a press that's going to be knocking on his door for questions all the time. So I think he doesn't need to reinvent the wheel with his address and give everything to every. I think he knows throughout the year he'll be asked, requested, and he will grant interviews to be able to cover some of these things. So we're living in a little bit of a different world now than we were 3-4 years ago. So it was a great address. It was concise, quick, and to the point. And I thought there were some good things covered and some things that, as we said, we're able to share.
Absolutely, and I know I keep bringing up the quarterly report, but if you're into the details and into the numbers, and you want to know how many patients were treated and all the way down to the nitty gritty, that quarterly report will give you that information, and I'll be going through it because we look to that information for story ideas and coverage for the citizens. So that should be available on the Mvskoke Creek Nation website. That's according to public relations, and so go check that out if you're interested. It breaks it down by all the programs. MNBE has a report in there where they actually break down how much they've given back to the tribe tribe and what their services do. So go and check that out.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, for being with me today in this pre-show, State of the Nation post-show. Sorry, hit the microphone there. And as we've been able to preview and then break down what we've seen today, you can see this in its entirety on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you stay with us there. Stay with us on MvskokeMedia.com for any and all things Mvskoke Creek Nation news. Native News Today will be on later today at 1 p.m. on the CW19. Got some great things on this week, so definitely check that out. And stay on our social media sites as well for up-to-the-minute updates, news as it happens, and all things Mvskoke Creek Nation. So for myself and Jessica McBride, and as well as Jared Moore, our producer here with us today, I want to thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning State of the Nation Address 2017. We will see you all on our different outlets all throughout the year. Stay with us right here at MvskokeMedia.com.